Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. This bulletin is coming to you live from the Joy 99.7 FM studios, Kokumlemle in Accra, a digital address GA0993341. Also live on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, affiliates across the country on ABN Radio in London and around the world at myjoyonline.com. The news is brought to you by Telesol 4G, just a touch. In this edition, minority in Parliament vows to summon the Finance Minister to appear before the House over what it describes as Ghana's rising debt stock, insisting it has reached unsustainable levels.
We are going to obviously come out with half an hour motion to compel the minister responsible for finance to bring us those expenditure so that we know how much they are spending on consumption, how much, where the money is going and where it is.
We'll get some reactions to the minorities' claims. Also, Securities and Exchange Commission cautions public against Golden Empire and Loom as it confirms they are unlicensed. Australia commits 75,000 Australian dollars to boost security in Ghana amidst terror threats. We'll hear from the High Commissioner who says his country has also issued a travel alert to its citizens.
This morning updated our travel advisory, advising Australians travelling and living in Ghana to be more aware of their personal security.
We'll also talk about Ghana's only tire factory which is producing no tires, the Bonsa Tire Factory. We hear from rubber farmers in the western region who are worried about the president's failed promise to revamp the factory.
If the government will save our soul, we can bring in any investor who is ready to add value to the rubber.
And in sports.
Now, Spain-based Yao Yeboah, one of 5 players omitted from the Black Stars squad, is taking the decision of Kwesi Appiah on the chin. He hopes to bounce back stronger.
And the dream of some girls to bring home the bragging rights as world champions in the UC Masters competition hangs in the balance.
Please come and sponsor me so that I'll go to Cambodia.
Will you win when you go to Cambodia?
Yes.
We hear from the girls who are appealing for fans to enable them participate in that event in Cambodia. All that and more here on the Midday News with me, Emefa Apau. And in our very first story for this afternoon, the minority in Parliament says it will summon the Finance Minister to appear before the House over Ghana's debt stock, insisting it has reached unsustainable levels. They say claims by Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah that government is managing the debt aren't true. Listen to the minister when he addressed the media last week when he denied the minorities' claim that government has borrowed more than 80 billion cedis within 2.5 years of being in power.
We want to start by stating emphatically that government has not borrowed 80 billion Ghana cedis in 2.5 years. A strange kind of assertion that is being made must first be examined by the fact that even if you claim 80 billion has been borrowed in 2.5 years, does the market have what it takes to even raise 80 billion Ghana cedis in 2.5 years? The answer is no. And you can add up all the loans that this administration has taken to Parliament and it will not come anywhere near 80 billion. Indeed, if there was a list of loans that add up to 80 billion, you'd imagine that the minority would put out that list by now. But the reason for which our debt stock today will show a difference of about 80 billion is that the figure is a nominal public debt stock figure. And the public debt stock figure is made up of a number of things. Number one, old loans that are now being disbursed within the tenure of this administration add to the public debt stock. It doesn't mean that the administration has gone to borrow money.
So that's the Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah at a recent press conference. Well, the minority has been reacting to the comments he made at that press conference. As minority spokesperson on finance, Kasiel Atoforsen insists government has borrowed up to 80 billion Ghana cedis, bringing the debt stock to 200 billion. He was addressing a news conference earlier today.
His claim that they have not added 80 billion to the public debt stock is mark of duplicity and dishonesty. For the avoidance of doubt, we have been very generous in sticking to the official numbers and not applying the outrageous principles and calculations used by the Vice President and the then NPP stalwarts when they were in opposition. Hence, unless the Information Minister wishes to say that the then candidate Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia, the running mate, were not even outlandish in peddling falsehood about our public debt in opposition, The attempt to blame the rising public debt on exchange rate depreciation represents a doublespeak and an admission of failure by President Akufo-Addo. President Akufo-Addo has also remained tight-lipped on what exactly the monies have been used for, and his information minister could not point to any except to claim that development wasn't all about infrastructure, unfortunately. This could be another justification for using the oil revenue for consumption.
He also says the minority will use parliamentary procedures to ensure better management of the debt.
This government is good at coming out with slogans and using deceptive words to create impression that they are doing better, whereas the details on the ground is that they are not doing well. Aside the issues of press conference and counter press conferences, we are going to obviously revoke the powers vested in us as members of parliament, summoning ministers of state to appear before parliament, revoking where possible constitutional provisions, and then obviously to do motions on the floor, half-an-hour motions, to get them to appear before parliament. As we speak, nobody knows the end December 2016 expenditure numbers. Even though, per the laws of this country, the Minister of Finance should have appeared before Parliament or provided information to Parliament by the end of first quarter. We've ended second quarter, or we're about to end second quarter. It's all missing. So we are going to obviously come out with half-an-hour motion to compel the minister responsible for finance to bring us those expenditure so that we know how much they are spending on consumption, how much, where the money is going and where it is.
Minority spokesperson on finance, Kasiel Atuforsen there. Let's go on the line and speak to parliamentary correspondent Joseph Opoku-Gakpo. So there have been press conferences and counter press conferences, 80 billion in dispute. But holding the minister before parliament, how would that address that figure?
Well, they say that the undisclosed debts, which are the latest figures on those, is something that should have been out 3 or 4 months ago, as at the end of last year, but that hasn't been done, which is what they are hoping to get the minister to appear before the House to answer questions on. But more importantly, the minority says they've seen a situation where when you put a cost to all the expenditure that government has made since it came into power in January 2017, they say it reaches 3 billion Ghana cedis. When you cost what has gone into one village, one dam, one district, one factory, and all the other initiatives, they say they cost it at 3 billion Ghana cedis. And so they're asking that the difference of more than 77 billion Ghana cedis, where has it gone? That is what they're hoping to get the minister to appear before the House to come respond to questions on. Again, they're also making a point that the information minister had claimed at his press conference that when the NPP took over power, the debt stock stood at 122 billion Ghana cedis. They're disputing that and insisting that it's 120 billion as at December 2016, and that the Auditor General has even confirmed that. So they don't understand how come what they describe as deceitful figures are being put out, which is what they are again seeking to get the finance minister to come respond to questions on the floor of Parliament.
Have we had any majority reaction to this latest press conference from the minority?
They indicate that a little later in the day they will be addressing the media on their own to respond to some of the issues, except to insist that they are managing the debt stock as well as has been done, and that the details the minority are putting out don't represent a true reflection of how the debt stock looks like.
We await that press conference, though, but what's happening in Parliament today?
The House has been dealing with the issue with the National Road Safety Commission bill, which would turn the National Road Safety Commission into an authority. They'll be wrapping that up a little later in the day. There are about 6 or 7 clauses in that particular bill that was laid a few months ago that they'll be dealing with. And we're expecting that after that, the Vigilantism and Related Offences Bill, which has been on the agenda for a while, and the report of the Committee on Constitutional and Legal Affairs has been brought to the House, they would go ahead and begin the necessary amendments to all the 10 clauses in that bill a little later in the day.
Parliamentary correspondent Joseph Opoku-Gakpo. Let's stay on finance-related issues because the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, has cautioned the public against Golding Empire and Loom as the regulator confirms they are unlicensed. According to the Director General of the Commission, Reverend Daniel Ogbami Tete, the public needs to be wary of such institutions to avoid being prey to scams. He told Joint Business the Commission had received some notice of people about these schemes and will follow due process to deal with them.
We will follow our usual due process or procedure in advising clients. But let me quickly say that It's important for investors always to ask questions. And one of the fundamental questions you should ask before you place your money with any firm is to find out what is the underlying investment. And in any case, we've indicated that when someone promises you a high return and tries to tell you that the return is guaranteed, it means that there is high risk involved, and you are better advised to look for the exit door.
That's Reverend Daniel Ogbami Tete, Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission. They say a word to the wise is enough. You're still listening to the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. The Australian government says it will support Ghana with 75,000 Australian dollars to help build the capacity of security personnel at the Kofi Annan Peacekeeping Training Centre. The aim is to boost the country's ability to counter terrorism, particularly in the wake of terror threats against Ghana. First Assistant Secretary for Middle East and Africa, HKU, revealed this at the ongoing West African Mining Security Conference in Accra. She and the Australian High Commission to Ghana, Andrew Burns, also spoke about travel advice that issued today to their citizens living in or travelling to Ghana.
We have just this morning updated our travel advisory here in Ghana, but we haven't raised the level. All we've said is just we've put a bit more emphasis on advising Australians travelling and living in Ghana to be more aware of their personal security, and we've mentioned that they should be careful of using public transport and taxis and Ubers, that sort of thing. So just really a reminder for everyone to exercise due caution and take generally safe decisions.
If I may add, one of the key functions that the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade carry out is to provide updated travel advice to all our Australians overseas. So this is part of the normal business where we actually monitor the situation in every country very closely in close cooperation with the Post. And when new bit of information becomes available to us because of events happening in different countries, then we very promptly update the content of travel advice to draw Australians going overseas, draw their attention to that information.
Now, Australia becomes the third country after Canada and UK to issue such an alert in the wake of heightened terror and the kidnapping phenomenon in Ghana. But let's go on the line and speak to my colleague Latif Idris, who is at the West African Mining Security Conference for more. So, Latif, we understand some of the mining companies operating in Ghana and West Africa have raised some issues with safety from the emerging terrorism threats. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, I'm so like the Miss HKU mentioned, the Australian government, particularly the High Commission here in Ghana, they have been monitoring the sub-region, Burkina Faso, Mali, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, and now they've gathered the intelligence that the security situation in Ghana is changing, and that has informed their decision to issue the travel alert to their citizens who are traveling in Ghana and those living in the country as well. The Australian government hasn't ended there. They are also making provision with some 75,000 Australian dollars to the government of Ghana to train some security agencies in Ghana and other stakeholders within the mining industry so as to foil any attempted terror attack that the Australian government says has the potential of affecting Australian mining companies that are operating in Ghana.
So the conference has been organized to make sure that we actually share all the intelligence and information that we have on hand about how we can keep ourselves safer and how we can actually assist host countries to also deal with these issues that are emerging. So to that extent, I'm extremely pleased to be able to announce today that Australian government will be contributing 75,000 Australian dollars towards an interagency counter-terrorism course to be run by the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Centre. We believe that one of the key things that needs to be done around issues like this, and certainly Australia has some experience in dealing with this in our region as well, is to ensure that there is clear communication and clear information sharing channels, especially amongst different agencies.
Australia's first Assistant Secretary for Middle East and Africa, HKU, there. Now, some rubber producers in the Western region say they are now skeptical about government's promise to revamp the Bonsa tire factory. This is because there's been no action on the ground since President Akufo-Addo made promises to the chiefs in 2017 and 2018 to get the factory working again. The factory built by the Nkrumah government produced high-quality car tires. Joy News' Henry Kwesibedu visited the facility and reports it's now serving as a cocoa warehouse.
Bonsa tires. Feasibility studies are almost complete. Rubber, a Western region.
And government will revamp the Bonsa tire factory.
President Akufo-Addo disclosing to the chiefs and people of the Western region that feasibility studies of a Bonsa tire factory was almost complete as part of efforts to revive it 2 years ago. But the people say the story on the ground looks different. It's been taken over by a labyrinth of cobwebs. It's dusty, and as we are taking on a tour of the facility, our shoes are already covered. A maize plantation and a cocoa warehouse are now part of a once mighty tire processing factory. On both sides of the inner perimeter are huge industrial machines crying for rehabilitation. A former employee, Joseph Aban, talks about how the collapse of the factory has affected him.
When the factory was fully operational, we were paid well, and I took good care of my family. Now, as a security person, my salary is petty and also delayed. Life is not as smooth as it used to be.
In the over 20 years after the shutdown, the town where the tire factory is situated, Bonsaso, has struggled to figure out a way to survive. Amata, who has lived here all her life, recounts conditions before and after the company shut down.
I operated a local eatery for workers at the Bonsa tire factory. My business was booming, as most workers ate from my place. Bonsaso is a ghost town following the collapse of the tire factory. We have always been receiving lip services from successive governments to revamp the factory.
Less than 20 minutes drive from the factory lies a huge rubber plantation, a major raw material for tire production. Visible from the Takrade-Takwa Road are canopies of rubber plantations with black little containers strapped to the trunks of the trees to collect latex. A portion is being processed by the Ghana Rubber Estates for export. Rubber is being cultivated largely across every district in the Western region and some parts of the Eastern and Ashanti regions. Patrick Kojo Oklu is an executive member of the Rubber Outgrowers Association. He wants government to add value to Ghana's rubber.
If the government will save our soul, we can bring in any investor who is ready to add value to the rubber like what Grill is doing, because the value chain can make us produce Wellington boots, gloves that we use in the hospital, and internationally look at the demand for condom. We use this very thing for condom. So can our people help some of us to establish those factories so that as the raw material is here, we use it to create jobs for the youth.
Henry Kwesibedu's report read to you there from the Western region. Let's head to the Volta Regional Capital Hall, the main lorry station to be precise, because passengers are stranded as drivers protest an increment in parking tolls from 2 to 3 Ghana cedis for buses and from 1 Ghana cedi 50 pesos to 2 cedi 50 pesos for taxi cabs and other smaller vehicles. Managers of the station, Skymount Limited, blocked the exit, causing a standoff at the station. The drivers say they are overburdened by several increments, including fuel prices, spare parts, tools. Stranded traders and other commuters expressed their frustrations to Joy News and called for immediate reversal of the new toll rates.
I see you, your naked eye. They say polluter pays. Who is the polluter in this station? I say this one is written on the ticket. Polluter pays. And they are coming to charge us, we the drivers, on that. Is this correct? Is this right? Or if you can kindly explain me this polluter pays. What's the meaning, please? No. Let's just, Am I right? Check it this. This is what they are charging us. You see, Polita pays 1 cedi. You see, so we the travelers and those who are selling in the station, who is polluting the station?
Things are becoming hard. When the car parked, you sit in it about 3 hours before it will get full. And why are they increasing the tax? So I'm not in terms of the government. At least they should look at it. The taxes are too high for us. We passengers, since morning I'm here, the car is not getting full. And why are they increasing the tax? So they should not pay. I'm behind the drivers. They should not pay the taxes. The taxes are too much. And fuel are becoming expensive. And what? Every day, every week, you hear that they are increasing fuel.
A driver and a commuter there at the whole lorry station, Mauli Avuagbi, has been following the story and joins us on the line. So, Mauli, what's the situation currently as we speak? Because we're told that the GPRTU intervened. Has it been resolved?
Yes, the meeting between the GPRTU and the managers of the station have just ended a meeting during which they have agreed that even though there was an earlier meeting between both sides that agreed on the new rates, the matter should be referred back to the whole municipal assembly. And the drivers insist that until a formal communication or perhaps a resolution on the fixing resolution of the municipal assembly is brought to them, they will not pay the new rate. So they have agreed that they will go back to the old rates while the matter is referred back to the whole municipal assembly, and a formal communication from the municipal assembly on the matter is brought to them on whether the assembly has resolved actually to take the new rates or not. Then they would be ready to pay the new rates. But they insist that they have abandoned and the matter be referred to the assembly. For now, they are taking the old rate. Now, as we speak, the old rate, they've started taking the old rate and cars has begun moving out of the station.
Mauli Yevuagbi there reporting from the whole lorry station. This is the midday news here on Joy 99.7 FM. Our top stories: Ghana's rising debt stock is a matter of tussle. Minority in Parliament are vowing to summon the finance minister to appear before the House over that matter. Securities and Exchange Commission cautions public against Golding Empire and Loom as it confirms they are unlicensed. And still to come, the dream of some girls to bring home the bragging rights as world champions in the UC Mass competition hangs in the balance.
Sponsor me so that I'll go to Cambodia.
Will you win when you go to Cambodia?
Yes.
Thanks for staying with us here on the Midday News. Let's do sports now.
Yes, MFA, how are you doing?
I'm good, Ridwan.
Yes, there's a lot happening now, about the Nations Cup coming up in June. This month will be big and busy on this network. Yes, live commentary will be on your slate, and also the updates and the exclusives will be here.
You need to tell us a bit more about the time zones, though, so we know.
Oh no, Egypt is just 2 hours ahead of us,
we'll check, don't worry.
we'll be in line. I think all matches will be, suitable.
Okay.
And convenient. You enjoy the commentaries that will be coming your way.
Of course.
But we have to reflect on what happened yesterday. Only 23 players are in the Black Stars training camp in Dubai after head coach Kwesi Appiah named his 23-man squad for the tournament in Egypt. 5 players, including locally based duo Mohamed Al-Hassan of Hearts of Oak and Asante Kotoko's Abdul Fattah Safiu. The rest are Majid Waris and Ebenezer Ofori, who plays in the MLS with New York City FC. Also, Spain-based Yao Yebua, who failed to make the cut, says he's not shattered.
And for me, it's not over yet, because I still got a U23 to qualify to Tokyo in 2020. And then that's, for now, I'm focusing on that now to get them there, because it's been a while that Ghana qualify. And then I'm praying that everybody get their best game in this African Cup, and hopefully we can bring the cup back home, because that's all we all deserve. That's all the country, our motherland, our parents, everybody is waiting for. So, I mean, something to cheer us up in Ghana. And I just want to use this opportunity to say that they should support us. We're all praying for the players as well.
Yao Yeboah, who plays for Numancia in Spain, speaking there after being dropped from the Black Stars squad ahead of the Nations Cup.
Thank you very much, Redwan. And the Supreme Court has thrown out the application for an injunction against the Electoral Commission on the limited voters registration exercise. A former assemblyman in Daboya in the North Gonja district, Umar Ayuba, filed a writ against the commission last month. According to him, the EC's decision to conduct the exercise at its district offices will disenfranchise potential voters. Although the court did not give any reasons immediately, it indicated it will make the full ruling available to the political parties. This means the EC can go ahead with the limited voters registration exercise at its district offices. Of course, a new date will be announced soon. Now, the school authorities at the Begro Senior High School in the Eastern Region say science education has ground to a halt 9 years after the contractor abandoned the rehabilitation of their laboratory block. The contractor, Morfec Company Limited, deserted the project after starting initial terrazzo works on the building. Documents cited by Joy News indicates government has made payments to the company. Take a listen to excerpts of the latest Hotline documentary, Leaking Oil.
In 2010, Mofeg Company Limited was awarded a contract to rehabilitate the Science Resource Center of Ebegro Senior High School. The contract was expected to have been completed in 4 months. But 9 years after, all I see is a pale structure with no windows and doors. Headmaster of Begro Senior High School, Daniel Mensah, reveals the contractor abandoned the site after starting initial terrazzo works on the building.
As we speak, it has been difficult to trace the contractor. He has never been back since he abandoned the project way back in 2010. And all attempts to get to him has proved futile. And indeed, since he has not resumed work, the project is at a standstill.
How is this affecting the school?
Indeed, teaching and learning of science has been very, very, very difficult. We are a pure science school. We teach the general science, but in the absence of a well-established laboratories has rendered the teaching of and learning of science very, very difficult in this school. No doubt our performance in the sciences has not been anything to write home about.
Excerpts of our latest Hotline documentary, Leaking Oil, will be broadcasted this evening again at 6:30 p.m. on the Joy News channel on Multi TV. Now, police and relatives are on a search for a 14-year-old candidate of the ongoing BEC who went missing 5 days to the exercise. Valerine Osei Nyako had travelled from Kumasi to Koforidua on the blind side of his mother. He later contacted her on phone. He failed to reach home on a return journey after his father had put him on a Kumasi-bound vehicle. Efforts to find him has proved futile as he misses the chance to take part in the BCE. Nanaya Ojima visited the family and has come through with this report.
Candidates from Unique Standard International School in Kumasi set for the BECE at Atonsu MA Basic School. Among absentees on day 1 is Valerie Osei Nyako, a student teachers describe as average. School authorities declined comment on record, but say they are worried such a student with promise will miss out on the examination. Disturbed mother, Quensta Nyako, is in her sitting room. In her hand is a letter left behind by Valerie, giving reasons for leaving home. Among them is to prevent conflict in the family. Part of it reads,
"Sorry for spoiling or wasting your time, and I know money is hard for you to make, but I promise I will not come here until the next 5 years, where I would have made enough money."
Mother is confused about the content of the letter.
His sister brought me a letter he had left behind. After reading the content, I asked them why he had allowed him to leave the house. I didn't understand the content of the letter either. They assured me he will come back.
Nana Aljima's report there. Now, some female students at the Emerald Community School here in Accra who have qualified to represent Ghana in the International UC Maths competition say they are afraid they may lose out on the opportunity. Nancy Emefadradosi has more.
Ghanaians and a lot of people around the world have fear for maths. But Abacus has been a game changer in Ghana, helping school children around the country appreciate and easily understand a dreaded subject, thanks to UC Maths, the organization championing this revolution. But guess what? Some girls from the Emerald International School were selected to represent their school at the National UC Maths competition. For some, it was a lot of anxiety.
I was afraid. I thought I would not win anything.
And then what happened?
And then God helped me, and I won a trophy.
For others, it was the time to show the world what they've got.
I feel so excited because I haven't gone to any competition like this before.
But after the end of the tournament, these strong girls from the Emerald Community School won the championship, grabbing 4 medals.
I was very excited because I knew that my father would be very happy and excited that I won something.
They have been selected to represent Ghana in Cambodia and Thailand, but there is a challenge. They have no money to embark on the trip. The girls need to pay 117,000 Ghana cedis, but it's been difficult to raise in it.
Some female pupils there, you know they need your help. Please, if you can, help them. What's trending on social media, though? We know that it's happening tonight is the National Science and Maths Quiz. You need to go to SS in Ghana to understand why people brag about it the way they do. I'm sure people
maybe for my kids.
Okay.
I'll leave that to my children.
Of course.
Yeah. Hashtag NSMQ 2019 on Joy News is trending, and at Paul Williams says the battle for superiority begins tomorrow, and at IM_pending says another year, season of excitement, surprises and drama is yet to begin. The best educational program 100s. Hashtag NSMQ on Joy News. Hashtag NSMQ 2019. You know, you can get all the details on our Facebook page, our Twitter page and our Instagram page, Joy News on TV. Everything about hashtag NSMQ on Joy News.
And the launch is tonight. It's at 5 p.m. at the British Council. Will be live on the Joy News channel. Brag away. And that's it for the midday news here on Joy 99.7 FM. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I am Emefa Apau. Thanks so much for your company.